information I always give, you could trust him. And I read it from the horse's mouth, I research it from where it's written, and I guarantee you it. I swear to the dogmas of no master. Once again, good night to all the avid listeners and those who approach me about me making mention that I'm winding down. Listen, 35 years of no vacation. Not only on the radio, but working. From I was 15, I can be 50 next year. So I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie to that. I'm tired. I got it. So I'm going to hold on as long as I could. I'm gonna do my best, and that's it. And when I'm gonna leave out, I'm gonna let the public know that that's me. I maybe come on appear on other places' shows and do my thing with them to make my contribution to my country that I love. This place called the Bahamas. My sponsors before we get into the show. The City of Hope, as our banner sponsor again tonight. The City of Hope, that's the former Cancer Society of America. Global Insurance, that's Teen and Crew. That's Teen and Crew Sandy Port, insurance company for all your insurance need. Marine insurance, you need marine insurance, industrial insurance, residential insurance, commercial insurance, life insurance, health insurance, whatever, vehicle insurance, bus, truck, car, motorbike, whatever you need in insurance. Give Tina and Crew a call. Write down this number, 601-0006, 601-0006. That's Tina and Crew at Global Insurance, Sandy Port. Give them a call and tell them you heard they are on Primetime and Independent Thinker. And I guarantee them you're looking for at least a 5% discount on their already low rates that they have. Nagico Insurance, that's the parent company of Global, but Nagico is located on Mackey Street, so you don't want to go away outside the port. You have another great company called Nagico Insurance, right after you pass the Salvation Army on Mackey Street. They're located in the prettiest green and white building on Mackey Street, right after you pass the Salvation Army going up Mackey Street Hill. You will see them on the left if you're coming from the bridge. Right after you pass Salvation Army building. That's Nagico Insurance, the parent company for Global. And said, whatever in insurance, leave it to the experts. Don't hit your head, just tell them what you want and let them fix a package that suits you and suits your budget. That's Nagico Insurance, Mackey Street. All the insurance needs. Vinton Barber Shop on Infinite Road, so you turn off Nassau Street on the Infinite, you have it opposite the Magistrate Court. Vinton Barber Shop, it's a 2-story green building, green and white building. Listen, you want a perfect cut? You want someone who's going to take their time and give you a perfect cut, you don't have to wear razor bumps and all. Listen, Vinton's Barber Shop. Infinite Road, right opposite the graveyard, after the corner, right opposite the Magistrate Court on Nassau Street. Pay them a visit and tell them, listen, I want that cut that Johnson, Independent Thinker, was talking about. I heard you out on Primetime and Independent Thinker. Listen, I want that cut. Not now, right now. Jody's Bread Shop, the bread from the pond they hand. Listen, I went there last week, get some bread. Before I reach, man, some of the persons who stand up at the window. The minute I say from the pond, they can answer that. I mean, they speak to you. I don't, but young and old can finish the commercial. From the pond to your hand, the bread that melts in your mouth. And from the pond to your hand means that as she bake them, when she shake them out of the pan, she shake them out for you to carry hot. Not no bread that warm up in the microwave, that shipped from different countries where you don't know where it's baked, you don't know who bake them, you don't know what kind of chemicals and sterilizing material to keep it fresh. Listen, Jody's Bread Shop on East Street, after you pass Windsor Park and Super Wild, you're on East Street. But on the right, you'll see the line. You'll smell the aroma, the fresh bread aroma, Jody's Bread Shop. From the pond to your hand. Tonight I have a good friend of mine from South Andres. He's a Johnson. He comes to me sometime when he's ready, when he's in town. But he's involved in a great sport, the tennis, and he's doing his best and doing his part, trying to get some young Bahamians involved. So anybody who like to be a part, participate, or even be a contributor who don't have the time, but willing to contribute in reference to helping the youths and trying to find some legendary players. Listen, give my co-host out here who's sitting in front of me, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Nolan Johnson, give him a call, and I guarantee you, you'll find something that you can assist with his program that he has doing his part in this country. So during the show, I can allow him to give out his number. That's 468-9187, 468-9187, Nolan Johnson. Give him a call if you want to be a part, or maybe donating some water for the kids, or maybe donating some tennis balls, some tennis racks. You want to sponsor travel trips, or you want to assist with just coming out, being a part. You want to learn, you want to be a part of it. You want to bring your kids to get involved. You think tennis is a nice sport, a less physical sport. It's a more active sport, but less physical. You don't, it's not like football where you hit the next person. All you're doing is hitting the ball. 468-9187. This is Nolan Johnson. Give him a call. He's on the show with me tonight. We'll have a great conversation about the state of affairs. I asked him to come tonight so we can have a conversation of the state of affairs that the country's in financially, because you've been getting great reports in the last month about the state of affairs that the country's in, and from the central bank, from Moody's. I think Standard & Poor's gave a weekend outlook where the government had rejected the suggestions that they made. I don't blame them, because they know what the facts are, and we're going to talk about the state of affairs that the country's in tonight. Mr. Johnson, good evening. Mr. Nolan Johnson, how you doing?
Great. How about yourself? And pleasant good evening to the Bahamas.
So far, the government has, in the report that came out last month, stated that they had reduced the deficit that was left by the Free National Movement by some 65%. Reduced the deficit. When I talk financial talk, I usually go back to where hence we came from. In 1992, when the two former law partners, the Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Ingram and the Right Honorable Perry Gladstone Christie, two former law partners, I make sure clearing it up, two former law partners. In 1992, when one of those former law partners had taken over the country, we was in about $800 or so million in debt after 25-year rule. But if you go back further, during the time of the UBP, the country was never in debt. We was in the black, meaning that we had surpluses. But one would say, Johnson, we had that surpluses. We didn't have no schools in Navajo. There was no schools in Bimini, no schools in Eleuthera, no schools in Crooked Island. So they wasn't really spending much money to develop the family islands where black people and the indigenous Bahamians were being able to benefit and capitalize on the power and privilege that education gives. So we wanted to say that's why they didn't have to borrow no money to build no schools, run no educational system, and because you had a system and only was in Nassau, they had the government high at the time, and I think one or two southern schools or something like that. But it wasn't at the level that happened after 1967. And after 1967 to 1992, when the PLP had lost by the great leader of the great late Sir Lyndon Oscar Pillen, the national debt was around, it was estimated from the central bank to me, around over $800 million. After 25 years of rule of the late Carlton Francis, the late Loftus A. Roker, the late Arthur D. Hanna, and the late Sir Lyndon Oscar Pillen, those great men who has now passed on to reap their reward, we only end up with 25 years of rule with an $800 million debt. 25 years of the two former law partners. The former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Ingram, the former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Perry Gladstone Christie. We incurred debt with some $10 billion, from $800 million a debt was incurred in 25 years of those two former leaders, an estimated debt of some 9 to 10 billion dollars, right? The national debt now is estimated around about 12 to 13 billion dollars now, because we had a very bad time during the Free National Movement governance, where the COVID-19, a pandemic that was never seen before. No one had a blueprint. No one had a previous experience of running a country with a country like the Bahamas that depends heavily on tourism, that depends heavily on foreign guests, foreign passengers, ship, plane, hotel, whatever. And not one boat was coming in the harbor, not one plane was landing, unless they was bringing the dog. They were bringing the dog with some people like the key that was led by the Free National Movement and its former cabinet ministers. Other than that, no boats, no tourists walking on Bay Street. Bay Street was a ghost town, and it appears that the Free National Movement had added some $3 to $4 billion to the debt, notwithstanding that they sold all the very valuable stocks and bonds, and they used majority of the stockpile of insurance money. They emptied the insurance company, National Insurance, Kitty, and still they borrowed almost in 4 years. They didn't do a 5-year term. They borrowed almost some $4 billion. And what catch me is one of the statements that was made by the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Menace, that out of the 1.2 or 1.6 billion or something like that, he stated, I played the tape all the time, what statement he made. He said that some of the millions of dollars was given to companies to pay staff. Never heard of. He was bailing out, he was doing what he was doing in the United States. When Barack Obama took over the United States during the recession, where you bail out companies, but the companies like the auto industry had paid the government back. But I never heard the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Menace, or none of his former cabinet ministers mention where these companies, private companies, that they gave millions of dollars to, millions and millions and millions of dollars to the Treasury to pay their staff. He never said where they paid the money back when they get back up and running. And if any of those companies from Live Key, I remember vividly when the Free National Movement tried to ask them to pay real public tax, like how the poor black people in this country are paying. They right back to the Free National Movement, telling them, get lost. The Free National Movement, the Live Key residents tell the Free National Movement Party to go and get lost, and not now, right now. But then tonight I have a sympathizer of the Free National Movement. He's in studio with me, my good friend and mentor. He's in studio with me. We have a conversation and a dialogue on the state of affairs that he sees through his eyes, of the state of affairs that we're in, and while he exposed the state that we're in, I will counteract with the facts of what causes chaos. So I will bring up some things tonight that will give a good understanding of some of the track road that get us and lead us to the position that we're in, from some of the bad and worthless and good for nothing decision that was made by some of the former prime ministers of this country. I won't call any name because the majority of them in retirement. So I just want, if you remember, then you'll know who's in charge at the time. But don't call me to ask me who made that decision, because I don't want because I'm tired of the FNMs robbing me saying, oh, I biased and I unfair for telling the truth about them. They want me just sit by and just play like everything all right in the country, and we end up like this way. We end up this way because of the 25-year rule of the Great Basin and North Carolina. And I refuse to do that. I will tell the truth. I will never lie on the Free National Movement. I will never lie on the PLP. And definitely I can never lie on the DNA. So, anytime you could write down what I say, you could check it. You could fact check me as I speak. And you will notice I don't talk nonsense. No time. Never. Good evening, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Nolan Johnson. How you doing?
Hey, good evening. How you doing?
So far, so good, man. I'm glad to see you back in the chair. As far as I know, you left the country. I went away for a few days to one conference. And I'm glad you're back in one piece because it's like conversation with you and your son. I spoke with him to come do a financial show with me about some of the state affairs, that stocks and bonds, stuff like that. But he was away at the time I called him, and you was away. And daddy, father, like son, brilliant as ever. And plus you all this Johnsons. So what's happening, man? What's happening? I own the show by accident.
I am. I hear your opening remarks, and I don't know if I pretty much totally agree with the presentation of the narrative. There, in my view, could be so many gaps within that narrative, and
Go ahead,
one can presume quite easily that the narrative was pretty tight, and not saying that there may not be any facts involved, but I've been in this chair before a few weeks ago, and we talked about what the government did with divesting itself from the stocks on the stock market. And there was never any time the message that was, the narrative that was delivered in the House of Assembly by, I think it was the Honorable Keith Bell, was not factual at all. Not factual at all, based on the information that I got over almost a 4 or 5 year period. Not at all. The facts were totally devoid of, one, what was the performance of those stocks over the last 5, 10, 15? Because I'm sure the FNN was not the government that probably bought those stocks initially. What was the performance of those stocks over the years? How do we know that their broker, through dialogue, even if the stocks may have revived after COVID, to say, maybe it may be a good time to divest of these? There was never a time when those figures that they say those stocks had valued was valued. Never. And I keep saying sometimes we need to be careful, and even including the House of Assembly too, when we make statements and the public presupposes or assumes that if he or she says this, it's so. Not in every case. And I think I would use that as a starting point there. I believe we can go back from, say, maybe 1744, 1745, and we would find every government made poor decisions. Everyone. To presuppose only one government has made a poor decision may not be. One may make more than the other. And one of the worst display that I've heard in recent time, when our present Prime Minister got up in Parliament a few weeks ago and presented Parliament about the proposition of wanting to borrow $500 million, and when I was asked, what is it for? He said, I'll tell you later. We've got to be true to the truth. And when I say true to the truth, straight across the board. Straight across the board. Every government has contributed to that $12, $13 billion deficit from which you spoke. Whether it's a penny or a dollar, they all contribute to it. And if some things would have done differently, prudently, in the financial sense, we may not have that situation today. There's an old African proverb that says, when you slip and fall, go back. Don't worry about what caused you to slip and fall, but go back and see what caused you to slip. Because the same impediment might be staring you in the face again, and you could slip again. We need, whether it's the F&M, the PLP, you need prudent fiscal policies. The lack of disclosure is one, as an example. No MP should be allowed to sit in Parliament who has not disclosed. No MP should be allowed to sit in Parliament if he or she cannot say how they spend the money for their constituency office.
But listen,
Wait. No, listen. You know, we're talking contribution to $12 billion deficit as a national debt.
12 billion debt.
I say we're talking to the 12 billion. I'm speaking to that. Every time we don't work in a prudent way, in a prudent fiscal way, that's the result. It doesn't matter who do it. And it's the burden we all share it. And it's the burden most of us have to pay, especially the ones who don't benefit from it. We still have to pay. Your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, who don't know where this money going, you have to pay that national debt. You got no benefit from it. Okay? Let us really start to create the narrative that holds everybody who contributes to $10 billion as a national debt responsible. And if you can say they're all worthless, and they all no good, and they all don't deserve to still be in Parliament. Let's not construe that only the F&M costs that. By no means. By no means. So let us create the narrative that we now have to say to all and sundry, you have to do a better job, fiscally.
I'll tell you this. You mentioned something about speaking that creating a narrative that the F&M created the debt. That's virtually impossible. I make sure open the show by stating that two former law partners and run the debt up some 10 billion over the 25 years. And definitely they designed it's your time, my time. So it couldn't be in the free national movement by itself. They create something where it's your time, then it's my time, then it's my time again, and then it's your time. So it couldn't be in one political party that caused the national debt be something.
But let me tell you why I say it like that. Let me tell you why I say it like that.
Yes, sir.
Because you made reference to the F&M as worthless.
No, I said the decision. I never said the F&M as worthless. I said the decision
toward
listen. So when you repeat what I said, the decision that was made towards one of the decisions of whatever. So I can bring you decisions from both governments. I can give you both governments' decision that I feel personally is worthless and bad, good for nothing.
That's the narrative I'm speaking to.
But that's the narrative.
No. I say that's the narrative. No, I know. I say that's the narrative that I'm speaking to. I say you bring the narrative that hold all responsible for the.
But I all responsible. But I said the
F&M. You're more than all responsible. You're not only all responsible.
The Right Honorable Perry Glasgow, because he never run the F&M. I just called him just now. His name I opened the show with. He never run the F&M. So he had to be run a different body. No. He never run the F&M.
Listen to me. Here's what I'm saying to you. I'm saying to you is when you start describing who did what and how they do and who was worthless, the PLP never got mentioned.
I mentioned the prime. I start off. I even start off how we was in the block with the UBP. Before I start off, we was in the block with the UBP. He's never, he had no debt. You remember me saying that at the beginning of the show?
Listen, you said that, and what I'm saying to you, what I'm saying to you is simply this.
Yes, sir.
I'm saying to you is simply this. When you start speaking, and that's why I said we've got to be true to the truth. If someone was to say to you, which government party bought those stocks that the FNM sold a few years ago?
Which party bought them?
Which government bought it?
Oh, I don't know.
Good. How do we know, and again, like I said, how do we know the performance of those stocks 4 to 5 years before the government gave the order that they sell them back?
But, you know, I mean...
How do we, listen to the question I'm asking you. How do we know the performance? Why the decision was made?
At this time, the information was not that was. I'll tell you why. If the Free National Movement wanted the Bahamian people to know, you're calling the line. Primetime and Independent Eagle.
Yes, I am listening to you both men. My point of view is from 67 until now, 2024, I concur with that gentleman said, if we were in power, let's say I'm a power figure and I borrow 10 million, I feel that if I was to let the public know and put on record and it's verbalized and documented, 10 million was done for this, how much was paid, how much was owing, then the next if I borrow another 50 million, but through the years from 67 until now, we always hear about people borrowing money for this and for that, but we never heard how much money was paid back and what was for. So over the years, you have this accumulation of these bills or this what has been generated. But if we had accountability of, let's say we borrowed so much million for an airport, we say so much was built for an airport, and we owe so much on the airport balance, and we're now borrowing another 200 million to do hospitals. Then we can do account, but none of this has been done. All has been said. You always hear, we're borrowing this, we're borrowing that, but you never heard an itemized account of what was paid for what and what was the balance on and what is the status of the loans. So like the gentleman said, over the years, whoever was in power from 67 until now, they are the ones who created the problem. So it's like trying not to keep housekeeping. Then one day you decide things are out of order, let me go back. To go back now, it would be so tedious. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. But we started off wrong. We should have had accountability. We should have had transparency. It should have been public knowledge. What was borrowed, where it was borrowed, the rate of interest, and every year at the end, the public should have been notified verbally by news, by media, and it should have been let down so the public would know where we were. But now we're faced with this big amount of loan, and we cannot point fingers to say, well, Harry did or John did, because Harry and both John sit in the seat. So it would be unfair to say one party or the next, because we weren't keeping count. We were just borrowing what we said we do, but nobody really knew the status of this loan through the year. So here we are now with this big amount, and nobody could say who did or who didn't do.
Yes, ma'am. Listen, I'm gonna take my first commercial break. When I come back, I'm gonna do a crash course in a few minutes. Don't take no commercial break. You ready for break? Okay. Listen, I'm gonna start the crash course now of how we get in this state. I'm just gonna bring up some. I don't want no one to use this as the only way how we get like this. I will give you a few of my suggestion, what I believe that causes this country to get in the state we are in, a $13 billion debt and a 12 to 13 billion dollar GDP, right? We had an incident where a building was built on Thompson Boulevard. The initial contract was these figures are either correct or close to the original figure, because we don't have a Freedom of Information Act, and we are limited with the facts in terms of numbers, in terms of the exact figure. So the ballpark figure will be given, and with 99% of these stuff, because they don't want you to find the exact figure. They don't put on the internet the copy of the contract so the people can see. So you only can go based on what the tabloids print and what the news give. So one or two may be off 100 or 200 million or 100 million, a few, like that. Let me give you an example. We had a roadway. A roadway, the contract at the time was 100, I think it was 113 million or 131 million. When the roadwork was finished during the Free National Movement and Power, the roadwork cost some $300 million. And me being a layman who don't have no financial degree, I have a law degree, I don't have a financial degree, never studied finance. Just a layman, which was a calculator, I would say, if the contract was 131 million, and the contract ended up being $300 million, double the amount, overrun. How is it that no one is fired, no one is called into account, no one is reprimanded, there's no exact way that how the overrun become double more than the amount? An ordinary person will say, why you calling them big figures? Why you say that help contribute to the national debt? I'll say this. Could you imagine that you're building your first house and the contractor tell you it's $120,000 to build this 2-bedroom house, and when the house is finished, he gives the bank a bill for $400,000, or say $300,000, double the amount, and the bank is saying, listen, we had paid your contractor $300,000, so your mortgage no longer will be $800 a month. Your mortgage will now have to be $2,500 a month. The idea would say, boy, I can't move the house. Or you say, I'll do my best, and when I can't pay, then I have to lose it. Why? How can your house from $120,000 go to $300,000? That's why some of the ways that the national debt is in the state that it's in. Your next one. We had a roadway that was done under the Free National Movement. The statement in the dailies, I remember, was $120 million. We bought from the Chinese. If I remember correctly, my mind served me correctly. Me use that as my base, my mind. And if my mind served me correctly, I'm 50 now, so I'm getting a little old. $120 million. $120 million the roadway cost from the airport. When the payback your loan is $240 million. The Free National Movement negotiated a deal where the Bahamian people borrowed $120 and double the amount to $240 million, and the general contractor will be the people who we borrowed the money from. The Chinese was the general contractor who subbed the contract out to the Bahamian contractor, right? But we have to pay 100% interest, in my mind, serve me correctly, under the Free National Movement. 100% of $120 million. So the Bahamian will have to pay over $240 million for who's borrowed $10,000 from the bank and cut the deal where you pay $20,000 for the loan. These are ways, I guess, giving you a crash course and what get us in the state of affairs that we are in with this national debt. And this administration has reported at the middle of September, where the national deficit has been brought down some 65%. The deficit was brought down some 65%. Some 200 million was added to the national debt, right? And the central bank has been reporting in the papers. This is all this information on the papers. They don't send me nothing direct. I ain't nobody, so they ain't give me no information directly from them. I just have to get my information from the financial pages and business pages of these daily tabloids. And the central bank is saying that the country economy continues to grow. It continues to grow by some 3%. I mean, the debt to GDP, you could borrow more money as the country economy grows. It allows rooms for borrowing. But I'm trying to create a crash course on how we get in the state of affairs. We are, based on some documents that I read, We the Bahamian people are paying, or was paying, at the end that was negotiated by the Free National Movement. The Treasury building on East Street opposite the bar, opposite the police barracks. I think the contract, based on my mind, I may be off because I'm going by my mind now. I don't have the document in front of me. 10 years for the Treasury building was a building that was refabricated. The old building was refabricated, made it look nice. It did good work. Wellington Woods, the former DNA candidate, was the general contractor. Not general contractor, he was the engineer, structural engineer for the Treasury building. But based on my recollection, the Bahamian people had injected some $650,000. Go back to Chicago Lang and former Prime Minister Red on Human Rights and you'll get it. We had injected some $650,000 that was paid as part of the help to get the building to what it was. We are paying some $750,000 a year to rent that building, the Treasury opposite the police barracks. They had a guarantee of 10 years. And 10 years got to be gone and the Treasury still there. So I will be paying more because they may increase it because, the value of the building or the value probably gone up. But at the time the contract was drawn up, we had injected almost $1 million, number one. Number two, we paid some $750,000 a year. But when you guarantee for 10 years, it amounts to some $7.5 million to rent a building in 10 years. They need to come rent my building. They need to please come rent my building. $7.5 million. The Bahamian people, the taxpayers, the black poor people in this country who are struggling had to pay 10 years of $750,000. And if I go back to that document, it will give me the exact time the contract was signed. Chicago Lang was the Minister of State for Finance, and the Minister of Finance was the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Ingram. So that had to be in between 1990, that had to be in between 2007 to 2012. That had to be in between that time. So it's just saying that this contract was 2008. I mean, 2018 would have been the 10 years up. This 2026. Say the contract was 2019. 2009. I mean, 2019, the contract would be up. What is the main people still paying? As the money going up? We done been renting the Treasury down there by the building down there on George Street. What the building name now? Where the McKinney Bancroft who uses. We been renting that for years, must be 20-some years. Down there. Now we renting the building there across from the Treasury. Right? 10 years is $7.5 million. You want to collect rent for 10 years. We had a deal struck. I just give you a couple before I let you speak. I'm gonna give you a couple more. We had a deal struck where the Bahamian people, the Treasury, the deal was struck by the government at the time, where the Bahamian people paid for 25 years of rent. Not every month, not every year. 25 years of rent. So if you don't use the building as your business, you don't pay me the rent. You have rights to use the building, but you don't use it as your business. 25 years of rent we already paid for. Go ahead. You're bringing up my crash course.
I have a little challenge with the Chinese map. A little challenge with the Chinese map.
Yes, sir.
If I go back to what we say the national debt is approximately 12 billion. Could that be a good figure to say the national
debt? Yeah, you use that as a good figure. That's a reasonable figure.
And at one point, 65% of that was paid.
You know what, now, was only 65% of the national debt was paid.
I am sure
I said 65% of the deficit that was left by the previous government. 65% of the deficit.
Well, the
deficit and debt is two different things.
No. Wait.
Okay.
So, wait.
Right.
So I was speaking to the 65. That's why I say the Chinese.
65% of the deficit.
The deficit.
Yeah.
Okay.
The deficit means.
Okay. I understand what the deficit
Okay.
is. The deficit is something that's current. Was probably
projected but never met.
Well, not just so much projected, but That was the shortfall based on.
But just based on.
But you
See,
see,
the budget is based on projection.
The budget is based on projection. which
And when you don't meet
which
those
you-
marks, it's called a deficit.
Let me finish.
Yes, sir.
Let me finish. When we budget here in the Bahamas, we budget based on projection from what the goods and services the country would earn from those. GDP, whatever you want to call it, goods and services. All the goods and services. When you project that and when you finalize that, and this is what puzzles me, because we finalize these budgets to the penny and say that's the budget. As an example, $2,475,000, 362 cents. We say that. And then we have a shortfall. The country does not meet the revenue it projected was going to meet. And then we borrow. We start by borrowing. Because we're still in the fiscal year. Start by borrowing. 150 million here, maybe 200 million here, maybe 300 million here, whatever it is, we borrow. And at the end of the year, all of what we borrowed, all of what we made, we may still not have enough money to still run current, and we may end up with a shortfall. We may have to borrow money, and we may say, well, 2 billion. So by the time we finish operating fiscal year, when I say fiscal year, let's say in a year, we may have spent almost twice as much as what we had pretty much budgeted. So we run into a deficit. So that deficit could be $2.2 billion. Use as the figure.
Not $2.2 billion. You can't have a deficit that high.
For a year?
No.
Yeah, man.
No, sir.
Yeah, man.
No, sir.
Do you believe?
You know what? The only year, and you could take this to the bank, the only year you could have a deficit of $2.some billion, it'd have to be the year when the COVID, when the FNM was in power. That's the only time you could ever have that. That's the only time you could ever have that. Nothing was open, no shops was open, no payments coming, no bonus coming.
I believe, for the sake of the conversation, that pretty much what I'm saying is pretty much on. I could be pretty much on. Like you said yourself, you could, but I believe I'm pretty much on. Okay, but let's say that is the case for the sake of the public. So at the end of the day, we run a deficit in that particular year of $1.7 million or $1.5 million,
Right.
billion dollars. Okay.
No, not billion, $1.5 million. The deficit usually be 200 million, 150 million,
But that's what it is.
87 million. Yeah, that's what
Okay.
deficit
So
is.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, is the PLP government paid 65% of the accumulative what the FNMA have left after they left power, or that 100 or 50 or 60 or 70, whatever it is, in a cumulative way? Is that the 65% that you're talking about? That
65% that the government in the papers, and in the papers you can read it in the papers that the government claimed that they paid. That was based on the deficit.
Was that the accumulative?
They never specify whether it's a cumulative, current, or previous or not.
So how would you not know what they're paying on?
But they said that. You gotta go based on what they said.
That's the question I'm asking you.
Right.
Is that for the 1 year, for the 4 years the PLP was FNO was in power, 3 years or 3.5 years,
No,
or if years?
No, you don't pay.
I'm only asking how that was done.
No, you don't pay on deficit for 4 years. No.
No, I said that's why I asked was cumulative deficit that the FNM was able while they were the government. Was that
That's a part of it. Because see, the government is
good.
The government is continuous. See, the government don't stop when another party lose or win. So it's continuous.
I understand.
Because of the state of affairs, hold on,
Mr.
Mr. Johnson. Because of the state of affairs that unforeseeable, the COVID, the pandemic, one should expect that the government wasn't making no money. They was using money to borrow and national insurance, save funds to pay and keep the country running
I
because
hear that.
nobody's
I understand
paying.
that. I understand
So you can
that.
understand that they're leaving a large
But I
deficit
understand.
and
but
a large
I
overdraft.
only wanted to find out
Right.
if that was for a 1-year period or
No, it's not. No, every year you have to create a new budget. The
We understand that.
budget become law.
okay.
The budget become law
Let me
July
continue.
1st.
Okay, let me continue. Let me
It's
continue.
it's
I understand
considered
that. I
the
understand
money
that.
bills.
I
Yes, go
understand
ahead.
that. I think we've got to be able to shed better light on this dialogue we're having right now. We're going to be able to shed some better light on this dialogue that you and I are having right now. In my view, I think we can shed better light on, because you spoke to, give an example of a house and the road works. Part of that shortfall or challenge that we may have may be how the government does business in those areas. Is the bidding process done properly? That's a rhetorical question, not a question for you to answer. Is the bidding process done properly? Is the vetting of those vendors is being done properly? Because the government, any government should be up in arms for 100% overrun on any project. I don't care who government is there. Any government should be up in arms, unreasonable overrun. It's the government don't have, when I said, who are the government, or who's representing the government as these projects are going on, to make sure the government is being properly spent. Who is doing that? Who are these people that we say are so smart in government can't figure that out? Who are they? Who they are? You and I are laypersons. And we're challenging them to say, well, what you always doing? Are you all part of the ball game too? Where did this overrun arise from? Where did it? Are these vendors could properly do the job through a proper vetting process?
I'll tell you this.
But all of these matters, and then when you put all of this together, we ask ourselves the question, so what could be a possible solution to this dilemma?
326-8255, 326-8255, 322-5477, 322-5477. You know, and I ask myself the question, the people can't complain because they sit by idly. And I was telling you, I'd start off telling you about the building there on Thompson Boulevard. I think it's named the Orwell Turnquist Building. I'm not sure. The building right here. The building is the Orwell Turnquist Building. Right?
It shows or
What, the Maynard Building?
No, we show
Adley Building? Paul Adley?
Paul Adley. It was Paul
Right,
Adley
anyhow,
building.
one of the
Yeah,
first one
Paul
was,
Adley.
I'd say it like this. The first one was Billiam. It's a company that I own a business now, Holiday Construction, had built the building almost to completion. And the initial contract was, I think it was 5.9 or 6.9 or something like that, right? And when that building finished, the contract was taken when the FNM win in 2007. The contract was stopped and granted to another company. I think it was Jones Construction of my mind, so Jones Construction of my mind served me correctly. Time that building finished, I think it cost maybe some $20-some million. When the initial contract was $5 million.
But see,
It gives you an understanding of how we get in this state.
But that's the point I just raised. That's the point I just raised. That's the point
I
I
give
just
you a
raised.
personal experience.
That's
I
the
will
point
share
I
a
just
personal
raised.
experience with you. Financial movement was in power at the time. I tried to get a contract to move the old building on Awaki. It was the old building, the old custom, the first custom
You
building,
mean the steel structure building?
the steel structure building.
Yep, I
The
remember
tourists
that one.
look at when the ship coming out.
I remember that.
Right? I try and move that building. I take some pictures, I prepare a proposal, and I carry it to different departments trying to get the contract to move the building. And I just thought that the building was an eyesore to the tourists when they coming in on the ship. So I try to get a contract, but I get a benefit. and eliminate
The
ISO at the same time.
ISO.
I prepared a contract for $249,000 for complete removal. I still have a copy of it. The contract, some 2 or 3 years later, was granted to a major construction company in this country. I ain't calling it name. A major construction company in this country, who then the contract was granted for some, I estimated some 2.1 million or so. Then the contract was subbed out to another construction company to do the work. I think they did the work for some $1.7 million. Then I was trying to do the same job, and the financial moves about for $249,000. The job was given for $2.1 million. I'm only drawing. I give you a crash course of how we get like this. Because in 1967, we was in the black. We was in the black, Mr. Johnson.
I have appreciation for what you say is your crash course and our pathway or a journey to where our fiscal position in this country is today. I'm one who is not going to argue that. Understanding our fiscal position right now today, if, as I speak right now, I'm trying to come up for solutions to get out, I'm not going to sit here and keep harboring on who caused this.
Nobody ain't no cost.
Listen to me.
You have to create an understanding
listen to me.
of where you was and how to get out.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes, sir.
I said I try, as I sit here, I'm looking for a solution to get out of the fiscal cesspit that we're in right now.
Yes, sir.
That's what I've been looking for.
So the baby people must never know how we get it.
Listen, so I never said we shouldn't know.
See, one thing I learned, I
never said we shouldn't know.
And
I never said we shouldn't know. Because if we do the things properly, like the lady said earlier, if we do the things properly, we'll know every step of the way pretty much what is happening.
Right.
If we
do
it properly.
That's the ideal bomber. So we don't want that kind of system.
That's, you see, that in itself speaks volumes to who we are as a people in the country.
Right.
Why should I sit here, blame the PLP?
We ain't blaming no one.
Listen to me, here's what I'm saying. Why should I sit, blame the PLP, blame the F&M? In the meantime, everything is going to hell. I'm saying is, we need to sit and try to find some solutions. Now you're saying, okay, explain to the people all the things
how we get like this.
All the things happened all the past 50-something years.
No, not 50-something, from 1992 to now.
Listen, this thing just started in 1992. This started from black people came to power because based on what you said to me, when the whites were in power, we had no deficit.
Right.
So I'm saying to you
no deficit.
So I'm saying to you is, so the deficit came in, the black came in.
Right.
So the
only deficit, the debt.
The debt.
Right.
So the debt came in and the black people came in.
Right.
So I'm speaking from 1967.
Right.
Okay.
But I mentioned pre-1967 just to let the people know.
I hear
that
you.
When the black people take over, we had no debt.
In the meantime,
right,
we settled the debt, and in the meantime, we're trying to say is, okay, at some point we have to say, okay, this buck stop right here. This buck stop right here. There will be no more of this. There will be no more of this freehand this. There will be no more of this freehand that. There will be no more of this freehand this. And going forward, these are the operative guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward. Do we have the testicular fortitude to do that as a people and as a government? I ain't sure yet. But maybe we do. But until we do, I say we don't have it.
326-8255, 326-8255. If you want to be a part of the conversation with myself, I'm Mr. Nolan Johnson, a.k.a. Smudge. We're in church, we're inside Love 97 on Primetime. We like the conversation, dialogue, we get back and forth information. If you see something that, or hear something, or know something that will shed some light on the state of affairs that we are in this country. Be free to call us, 326-8255, 322-5477, 322-5477. I tell you that. I am bringing you maybe about 7 factual suggestions that came. Rich. Oh, he's back? We'll take a commercial break. We'll take our first commercial break. When we come back, we continue our conversation with my special guest and mentor, Mr. Nolan Johnson. He's in the chair. We're talking finance tonight. We want to get a good grasp of the state of affairs, financial state of affairs that we're in. In my humble opinion, I think Simon Wilson and Mr. Honorable Michael Akitas, I think they're doing a magnificent job based on the hand that was dealt to them, that was left by the Free National Movement. I think they're doing their best, and they're doing great deeds and bonds of some things that are coming out by the financial persons in this country, the central bank, and those who keep their eye on the pulse of finance. The reports are coming out good that the country, the economy is growing. It continues to be growing, and that some 65% cut from the national debt, some 200 million add to the national debt, the deficit, 65% cut from the deficit, and 200 million added to national debt. The country grows, economy has grown some 3%. Things are good at this time. I don't know how long it'll stay because it's a slow months coming up, September, November, and Thanksgiving season things might pick back up. I hope so, but plenty persons have confidence in the country. Because I see some 700 million, 770 million spending this way, some 300 million spending that way, some 350 million spending this way, some 125 million. So it has to be a stable, sound economy financially in order for persons to invest billions of dollars and continue to invest billions of dollars in this country. So some great things are happening. Whatever this new day government is doing, I want them to keep up and press gas continuously. Do that. We're going to take our first commercial break and come back. Continue conversation. Special guest, Nolan Johnson, in the chair. Not now, right now. Live and grateful learning. This is Primetime Independent Dingo. My name is Nolan Johnson, aka Independent Dingo. You can reach us at 322-5477, 322-5477, 326-8255, 326-8255. Google Basin. Let me know. Give me an update what's happening in Freeport. But now there's a pending strike. Or strike has now begun. I hope it don't last. I hope by Monday, I hope things back to normal in the United States. It's a pending strike in reference to the long shoreman, or the man who load the boats. I think they're striking on some issues. They don't want to be replaced by automated systems. They want to pay raise. They want some things to happen for them. So there'll be some hiccups and some inconveniences by trying to ship stuff, especially with those boats that are part of those companies that ship stuff out of the United States. And I was told today that tropical shipping isn't involved their shipping company does, and is the union, the union is part of that. So that means trucking shipment will continue as usual, shipping over the United States. So it's a little more expensive than other shipping companies, but if you have important goods that need to come, just like wait to tropical shipping. It's a free plug they put in for them, but it's all good. They have amens. Once they have amens, they're entitled. Under my breath, if I have the opportunity, when they do well, we all do well. Mr. Johnson, before the break, at the first segment of the show, I gave you a crash course on some of the things that happen. Just that as a sample of some of the things with, that Bahamians are aware of, they should be aware of, that happened in this country in the past. And I did that intentionally so that persons could really get a grasp and appreciation of why we like this, why we in the state. And I use even a personal example where I have a copy, and I can put it on Facebook, a copy of the contract, not a contract, a copy of a proposal that I prepared personally trying to get a job for $249,000 when the job is going for $2.7 million. And then was sub out to another company for $1.7 million. I'm just trying to show you why we in the $13 billion debt in this country, and because some things need to change. The guy you asked, we must find some solution. Fiscal prudence in terms of financial in this country need to be a mandatory, need to be put in the Constitution so that it cannot be violated. In my humble opinion.
Every government.
Yes, sir.
Every government we had in this country, every government has some part to play in where we are today financially. Even though we say when the Bay Street Boys were in power, there was no national debt at that time. But I think it's fair to say every government has a stake or part or skin in where we are financially. If those persons who were in charge at one point in time, and something you said was very poetic in the beginning, maybe it was the way it was because electrification came many years later at a great cost. Water, or let's say infrastructure, total infrastructure for the most part, came later and at a great cost. Payrolls for MPs came later at a great cost too. And I think it's still going up somewhat. You know, the things we do defines us as a people. The things we do, whether civically, socially, politically, defines who we are as a people. I am to a point where I am not, I know we have a problem. I am not, I can't sit and just bang on the problem without trying to say, how can we get out or how can we resolve this problem? For me to keep saying Party A responsible for most of this, Party B responsible for only just a little bit of this, Party C did that, it's done. It's done. Horse is out the barn. Fiscal policy is gone. We need to try to find a way to catch it, put a bridle on it, put it back in the barn, close the door. That's what we've got to start doing. And we have to be, or we should start to become, proponents of just that. Many of us have the same horror story you have. I have a horror story too. Is that going to solve the problem? No. Those horror stories, part of our experiences, should help us to make better decisions. How we do business in this country. Like I say, what we do socially, civically, and politically defines who we are as a people. So we could continue on this journey of saying that, okay, is you would cost that, is you would cost that. Gonna have the same problem. Probably ain't gonna go away. Ain't gonna go away. Ain't gonna go away. When I heard, I think it was this morning, I believe it was this morning, on the news, I believe that it says that, what is it, that the Bahamas got a B+ rating on its credit worthiness. Good news. Nothing's wrong with that. That's something positive to start the day with. But we've got to start doing the things that can turn this economy around. Because as much as we say, the economy is booming, and all of these things are happening, and all of these things are happening, and all of these things are happening, and I said to you before on the show, until unemployment between young people starts to decline, I'm not going to start believing how good it is in this country until I see that on the decline. Something on the financial matter that bothered me, I don't know whether it's in this paper, but it says something about Alive is raising some, was it 47, 80 something, $57 million? Here's a company that probably came into this country without a dime in their pocket and they're raising more.
Alive? Alive is a baby company.
I said when they came into the country.
No, Alive is a baby company. Now you may talk about Cable Bombers.
Cable Bombers.
Cable Bombers.
Well,
yeah.
Isn't that an offshoot of Alive?
Maybe, but then.
Okay,
Okay,
right. So what I'm saying is, here it is now. I believe, if I'm saying wrong, I do apologize, Bahamas. They're on BizX raising more funds, and the first thing came to mind was the initial that Bahamas came in with no money, and now you're raising Bahamian funds. I'm saying is, why do we have to be the catalyst for who wants to start business? Come to the Bahamas and you get it done easy.
I said you said it just now. It's perfect. You know why I said that? You're doing the same thing I said. This big company came, you said the parent company, and you mentioned it, came in this country. And brothers who may not be aware, young persons who are listening, they mightn't be aware of the statement he made. So I put a little meat in it. A Canadian gentleman by the name of Philip Keepin came to this country, and he was one of the pioneers of Cable Bahamas. Under the Free National Movement, under the former Prime Minister Alexander Ingram, he was allowed to enter the stock market and raise some $30 million. Not only that, but Telco had purchased some stock in it, I think some $2 million. BEC had purchased some stock, some $2 million. And National Insurance had purchased some stock from Cable Bahamas for some $2 million. So the pioneer of Cable Bahamas was allowed, based on my recollection of my mind, was allowed to raise some $36 million to start his business. That the Free National Movement allowed. Philip Keeping, who's now late Philip Keeping, he's passed away now. He fought off on Harley Davidson skydiving inside on some days in the States. Who started Cable Bahamas. He was allowed to raise some $36 million to start his. When Bahamians have gone on record, the late Tennyson Wells, I think the former Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Brent Simmons, a couple of other Bahamians who wanted the license to start a cable service in this country. A foreigner was allowed the license number 1, the monopoly number 2, and allowed to raise some $36 million when $6 million of the 36 was allowed to come from the cooperation that Bahamian people build and contribute to, and their depositors hold it, he was allowed to get $6 million from them. And at the time, I cried shame on the financial movement. Why? Because how is it that a foreigner could allow to raise $36 million over a business and not one Bahamian yet, maybe some, who was given that same or even a better opportunity to allowing some 40 million or 38 million or 37 million or some 50 million as a Bahamian, but a foreigner's allowed it. And that's what I was trying to get to, that to show where Bahamians in this country need the same opportunities and privileges. I read a document some years ago where it was stated, and it was concurred by one of the former Minister of Economic Development, where in the Caribbean, one of them newspapers stated that Bahamians are not allowed the same privileges, the same opportunities, the same concessions that foreigners are allowed. And he tried to ask the question, why? We don't trust Bahamians? Are Bahamians dishonest? Are Bahamians just worthless? Are Bahamians just don't deserve it? Or we just trust foreigners more? Right now, water and sewage, in my humble opinion, is only a collection agency to pay consolidated water. A foreign company, Cayman Island company. How is it that Batelco, right now, when cable and wireless was eliminated, and it's like, I know, but all the staff can be sit by idly, and you can hardly remember someone who's going to Batelco who's still there. And they, you know what I mean, they're using companies they billing to guarantee, I mean, the operation allowing, so let me give an example. But that's going to to me, they don't have much stores open. They're using a new company to just build, collect the money for them. Must be just to get rid of the staff. I mean, things have changed so much in this country. It's so much to keep up with. The state of affairs that we in.
But where do we go from here, though?
Where do we go from here?
I mean, that's fundamentally, where do we go from here?
Well, I think pay needs to change. And I started this to go another break again. You want me to plan? Okay. I said before we go to the break, I sat by idly during the 90s. Well, I was young at the time. I was only like 17, 18. And I watched all the Bahamian clubs in Nassau closed down one by one in the early late 90s. One by one. And no one from 1992 to 2002 step in or even cry out and say, listen, we got to create a fund to help these businesses stay open. The Pink Pussycat Drop, Banana Boat, King of Nights, Piccadilly, and all those different Bahamian nightclubs where tourists to come to the Bahamas to revisit, come back, because they enjoy themselves as a result of the Bahamian entertainment. And they sit by and allow every single one of those businesses. And so I created my mind that it got to be something from 1992 to 1997 where Bahamians were hated because they had the country for 25 years by the Great Lakes and independent. I think about the second commercial break. Final commercial break, we'll come back. We'll opine. Let's see what that was made. That's not right after the break. I'm an independent nigga. My name is Nolan Johnson, aka Independent Nigga. Boy, like I said, if you want to tell me a text or you don't want your voice to be heard or you're scared of some sorts of retaliation or victimization. 326-8255 is the number to call. 326-8255. 322-5477. You want to send me a text, 376-2301. 376-2301. For years, I've been coming on the radio. The news of the station was at 7:30. Or before 7:30. But it comes on 7:30. When it comes on, the internet is dropped. Right? When I come back off at 9 o'clock, the internet comes back up. For years. And I can blame it. But then I realized that's the type of society we living in. They don't want the baby people to be educated. Because they need them to go blindly to the polls. They don't want the information to be shared. And that's the kind of system we living in. They don't want people to know that a foreigner get $36 million. They don't want that. They don't want that. So you know what I do? I find you gotta improvise, you gotta pivot, you gotta change, you gotta adapt. So for years I complain with it. So those who could hear my radio, they hear me. Those who on Facebook can't see person, they the system why you can't hear you. Because I lived with that for 14 years on the radio. But as time goes on, things change. There's a new kid on the block called Starlink. Starlink. I hooked up one of my tugs 2 weeks ago. The cost is some $50, I think it's $50 a month. But when you pay the tax, the government have a tax on it, some $16 VAT or tax or some I forget what the tax called. Anyhow, I don't have the paper in front of me. But $71 could get you a system that you can put on top of your roof and get uninterrupted internet services, right? And Starlink don't know me, so I advertise with them. I only saying what I did. I get a Starlink on top of my roof with one of my tugs, right? Right. I can put one on top of my business, one on top of my house, my apartment building, right? To show you how things change. And those who fear change will be left behind. Those who don't want things to change because they benefit unscrupulously from the back to the poor people in this country. That's why I struggle so hard and real in this country. I pay an internet at my house, some $140. When Starlink will give you 30 days of internet for $71, when then you pay the tax for the government. Added to that, $50 plus tax. $71. 235 people can hook up to your Starlink at one time. 235 persons could use the Wi-Fi on the internet at one time. That's how much things are changing. So if you want to go invest your money and the 30, what you say they want to raise? 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, what is it? Right, if you want to go invest in a stock where things are changing, right? They can afford to cut the internet for me when I come on the radio. I only a dark, black, fat boy from South Andres.
But let me say this to you.
Yes, sir.
Let me say this to you. You know, you could be part of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
You have a platform that could help you to be a part of the solution. And not just you. Everyone who sits in that same chair that you sit in as a host. But you know, you talk about change, etc. Absolutely right. I will be glad the day, and it's coming soon, when you all bring the other people to tell the politicians what they want or what kind of representative they would like to have. Too often,
we accept what they do.
Listen to me. Too often all y'all don't recognize those people who put in those X in those boxes. Enough. Because we believe the only people who understands what's best for you are the politicians. Because they're the only ones you bring on during what they call silly season. And that ain't John Kuno. John Wood, when it comes down to the close to the election. They are basically the only ones you all bring on.
Yeah, but Mr. Johnson.
Hey, listen to me. And I'm saying to you, that be a part of the solution. Bring them other people on to tell them what I'm looking for.
Yeah, but the Bahamian participation is limited. The Bahamian people, for years I said, Mr. Johnson, that the middle class in this country has done a disservice for years.
Okay,
They
call
don't be
them
a
out.
part of.
Call
They don't be
them
a
out.
part of.
Call them out.
Listen to me.
Call them
I
out.
call them out on
No.
They don't be a
Listen.
part of the
Listen.
conversation.
Listen.
They don't be a part of the dialogue. They
Listen.
went to school. Some of them have doctor's degree, master's degree, a PhD in organic, right? What's this? They have all these degrees, and they don't be a part of the conversation.
You know why?
Why?
You know why?
Why?
Those who are not a part of the conversation or part of the solution are the major part of the problem, or is the major problem, because they're quite happy with their status quo, and they don't start thinking for people. The people that you may be referring to, those same people who are that high middle class, or if you want to call it that, may be part of the people who are part of the problem. Because they themselves don't want any changes in the status quo, because they're quite happy.
Hold your thought. I'll take this call. Primetime in the better nigga.
Yes, I understand what the gentleman is saying. I agree with him 10 million %. But I have found out over the years that the Bahamian public, they are very, 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 very few or minute know the history of the Bahamas and what we were like under the colonial days. We thrived. A lot of the people, they are clueless as to how the Bahamas got to this stage. We had agriculture that really flourished. Elusa was like the agricultural bedrock. Then we had Long Island. These people don't know anything about Bahamian history. All they know is politics and we black people in power. That is part of our problem. And another part of our problem is that we are pushing cultures that are not Bahamian. We should be educating our children about the Bahamas, what it was like, how the Bay Street was like Wall Street, the men in their business suits, the women in their suits, their hair, their makeup, and all the fine shops. And people used to come here. A lot of these people don't know their A from their elbow. And that's part of our problem. If you don't know who you are, you cannot solve a problem if you don't recognize you have a problem. And that is the problem in the Bahamas. And it gets my backside angry to see how the Bahamas is going underground and nobody knows. We need to start teaching our children commerce, trade, politics, all of those things. We need to educate them, and we need to bring Bahamian history into schools and let them know that these islands were very productive. And not only tourism, agriculture was the big deal. Dole, pineapple slips from Hawaii came from out of Elusa. A lot of the children are clueless. And when you are clueless, anybody can brainwash and tell you a bunch of bull. And it makes me angry to see all of the people, all of our good politicians, the Milo, Douglas, and whatnot, these children don't know a hell but damn Doris Johnson and all that. That should be a class and a mandatory class. If we too busy taking care of other people's business. And what we are in for, the people who want to take the Bahamas from us.
Yeah, but you can't blame them. And they should take it without a shot being fired. Why I say that? Because you got to blame the Bahamian people for the problem they're in. See, one thing with alcohol and normalists, when you use alcoholic, and you go to alcohol, the first thing, they're allowing you to do nothing else other than you must say that I'm alcoholic. You gotta state that, because then it'll help you. You must say that you are alcoholic. You must say that. You know, see, our problem in this country, we have a problem with the middle class. We understand and we appreciate that. But those who have knowledge, those who have money, I can understand the chauvinist behavior and attitude and that mindset that they have. Because they have arrived, they live out west, they live in Lavikey, they live in Albany, they live in out east, they live in Soto, stuff like that. They are different. But they must remember that when the dollar, the value in the country, it ain't the value only in the poor areas, it's the value overall. Because the peers that they don't believe that their dollar will be the same as the poor man on. And she talk about the educational system. If they fix the system and you educate and you create a system that the Bahamians will be educated in this country, you cannot sell them nonsense. They will not go to the poll blindly and just vote because their families to vote one way. They'll never do that. That'll never happen. But if you keep them, where you push them through a social motion system, you don't fix the educational system, You will continue to keep the same set of politicians who, listen to me. I question this over and over. How is it that a politician can live in Live Key house and run inside Pinewood Garden and Kennedy and Henderson and live in my house inside Live Key, right? But you have to be living in a constituency for 6 months for you to work there. So why the politician have to be living in a constituency? Why he's not forced to live in a constituency where he run it? And are they saying that the persons who live in the constituency are stupid and dumb? It's a system portraying that no one in the Grove have enough sense. So the system must allow persons who live in Live Key, who live in Albany, who live in Otis, who live in South Ocean, they must come and put force on you by your party to run when you live someplace else. Live where you run.
Let's have these people.
Until the Bahamian people realize that we are the problem.
Let's tell
we are the cause of the situation we're in.
Let us start by bringing the people of the Bain Town, bringing the people out of the Grove, and telling the party leaders what I want from you as a politician.
In order for that to happen, the Bahamian people must have numbers. You must see, I never forget this. When the Free Nation movement was getting rid of Patago, and the former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Hugh Alexander Ingram, made a statement in the House Assembly. He said there are only about 400 or 500 people. I was out there. He said only about 400 or 500 places out there. We'll continue. The numbers, there's no numbers. There's no outcry outside. So Patago's going to be.
You're talking about keeping them ignorant. If I got part of
no,
it.
No, listen.
No, wait. I said a minute ago you were talking about education and keeping them ignorant to a point. That's what I understand you'd be saying when you talked about controlling, because you mentioned that just a few minutes ago, in terms of education and going to the poll blindly, etc., etc. What I'm saying, as you say that, great. I am saying also is now part of it, because you'll be surprised to know who you'll get out of being in town, who you'll get out of Anderson, come and sit in the same chair I'm sitting in, telling Brave Davis, telling Pentard what we want from our representatives. Don't believe it won't happen. It will happen, and it could happen. Give them the chance.
But I tell you that.
Give them the platform.
The system that controls the political diatribe in this country isn't designed. It isn't designed to get the best out. It isn't designed for the best to come forward.
True.
Because
that's why we have the problem.
And I'll give you an example. You had 3 billion minds. I'll give you one more example before we end the show. You had 3 billion minds who had, or maybe 4 or 5 billion minds, who had the ability and the fortitude, to stand up and start their own particular organization.
Fortitude.
The testicular fortitude, whatever you call it. To start their own particular organization because they didn't support and didn't believe in the present system was working for the majority in this country. Right? Brown McCartney, right? Cassius Stewart, Renwood Wells, Andre Rollins, Dr. Bernard Norwich. I could go on and go on. You had the BDP, Sweep It Clean, Keep It Clean. You had the CCP. You had all kinds of different parties, the Constitutional Party. You had all kinds of different parties who felt that this can't be the right way to go. In these two political organizations.
I'll give you 2 names.
What?
Before that. And you may not believe it. They're both deceased now. David Knowles, Bobby Glenn. Before that.
Yeah?
I know he had them. I am telling you.
And I tell you.
Some social things that's happening in this country today directly came out of what David Knowles and Bobby Clinton wanted. And that's why when they had the memorandum of understanding in 77 with the PLP, telling you, I got a copy of it.
I need a copy of that. You know, I like that information. Let me take this last call. Primetime in the better nigga. Primetime.
Yes, that gentleman is right. They were the labor force that same Bobby Clinton and David Knowles. He is correct.
Yeah, I never said he was incorrect. We flat all the time, caller. It's 9:01. But I tell you this. as long as we don't fix and understand and appreciate the value and the importance of education in this country, we continue to the social emotional system where we just push you into the system when you reach grade 12 go. Without education, some of them even can't graduate, some of them just walk. They only walk, and we just put them on the street to survive. We will continuously fester problems in this country. We have to change the system where we create the higher you work, the more you should be paid. Right? If you smart, why should you be in a class with 40 children? With some children who refuse, who don't want to learn, who parents who come to PTA meeting, who not involved in the education system, who don't care who use the system as a daycare center to keep their children for 8 hours. Until we understand the importance and the use of education, we will continuously end up with leaders in this country who don't care less what next. Why? Because we fail to stand up as a people. Numbers change things in the country. Numbers. And you watch. Some things will change. The education system is very easy to fix. But if they fix it, if you fix the education system in this country, we will never end up with some of these. You guys are politicians or somebody. They bold enough to tell you. They complete the document, follow the, what do you call it, when you disclosure. Disclosure action by March 31st. Who failed to declare should be arrested. I mean, they bold enough to tell you they ain't clear, and you must follow the rules. You mustn't run the light. You mustn't shoplift. You mustn't break the rules, but they can do it.
But we should
you
hold
got to
them,
be joking this country, being serious.
We should hold them to that, whether it's a member of our party or not. We should hold them to that. Seriously.
Listen to me.
Because like I say, our politician defines who we are as a people in the nation.
Some things need to change in this country. We fly all the time, but listen to me. We got to continuously try our best to offer solution, but I try to create a understanding of how we get here. So when we start to offer solution, you'll appreciate what are we trying to do, why are we trying to do certain things. But if you just say, listen, fix the education system, no, we have to understand. You know, you look at all the history of all the persons who come from the government school. I think you check
the government high.
Oh, the government high, right?
Yeah, okay.
You check. See, that was the purpose.
But there were also other schools. But let me. I wish if I have the time to maybe make this last contribution for tonight. And that last contribution that I would want to make is, we've got to stop being like the frog on the stove in the pot of water. We call it the frog affair. You put a frog in a pot, put it on the stove, and you turn the stove on. That frog would stay right in that pot and die before it even makes any attempt to jump out. You can't be like the frog or the frog effect. When we feel the heat and the pressure, you need to make an adjustment by getting out of that environment. The Bahamian people have to realize one thing: we should not always continue to learn through pain and suffering. That is not a good way to learn.
I love how you meant that. I'd say that before I end my show is that I live long enough to see a member of parliament now Assembly making a contribution to the debate and reading from the wrong bill. I'm telling you, I mean, he's died now, but I'm saying to you, I live long enough to see that. I can tell you that they ain't serious. I mean, this is like a big joke. And the people must just continuously pay taxes, increases, and you know, it's no way to say, listen, enough is enough. If the Bahamian people fail to come together as one, as a body, just achieve a goal, it will never happen.
And that's
you
why
pay tax, you live and die.
And that's why I say, our political narrative must change.
Yes, the gentleman still taking calls?
Yeah, go ahead, you're live. Me fly to time and I take your call. Go ahead.
How you doing?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, you're live.
Yeah, I just want to quick hurry up. Listen, you know me, I call, I radical. We aim to change this country peacefully. That's just me. I mean, this is my opinion, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, it ain't happened peacefully. I hear you all talk about coming together. How do you do that, man?
coming together and do what? Just stand up with plaques in your hand? That ain't gonna change that.
You don't think so? You don't think if we put 20,000 people on Bay Street, nothing will happen?
That ain't gonna change.
I guarantee you something will happen.
Listen to me, buddy. And that ain't gonna change that because if you stand there with placards and and the government could just walk through them and go with it, go to their car and go, nothing gonna change.
I get no. See what you said. What you said just now. If you stand there with placards, and the government has passed, or any government who's successive government pass through you and go to the vehicles, nothing will change. You're right. But if Bahamians realize that they are the one with the power, the politicians, you elect them. But we got it backward. We believe they elect us, or we believe that they are the power. That's why we elect them. Listen to me.
Yeah.
Right now today, a simple thing right now today.
Right. I don't give us 50,000.
Listen to me.
Give us placards and then nothing.
As simple as this. I mentioned over and over from the last administration was in. How is it that we allow a politician to get paid $25,000 every 3 months for constituency, and people in constituency suffering, and who's to say that all the money, the $25,000 comes off the member of parliament account and go in the constituency account to help the people in the constituency? Let me sit back. We let get $25,000 every 3 months. We let get $100,000 every year. We let get $500,000 in 5 years, and we don't do nothing. We just complain and grumble ourselves. Right.
This is simple. I used to get mad when foreigners used to call Bahamians stupid. I don't get mad no more when they call me mad because it's true.
Right.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
That's why I get mad now, because it's true.
Well, you ain't mad because they calling it, you mad because it's true.
Yes, I get mad now because it's true.
I really appreciate that narrative.
And this is the truth. Listen, it is nothing that our politicians hasn't done to us. They have done every wrong we could think about us.
You know, Claudia, before you go any further, listen to me. The question was put to some of the politicians. Some of them are still here. Some have already, all the politicians, some have already died. How is it that in the Penal Code, chapter 84 and 77, when you kill somebody, your life should be taken. You know what they say? Oh, they don't support hanging. Yeah, poison you. You know, but who elect you who elect you to enforce your personal rights and your personal feelings, your personal suggestion? People don't elect you that. But we as the people in the problem, the politicians in the problem, I salute them. You know, I salute them. Just like how you say, there's the call Bahamian stupid.
Yes.
What make you mad? Because they stupid with you. You flat all the time. Man, you're supposed to call a lady. You're supposed to call a lady and be a part of the conversation, man. Trust me, I know I can have a great conversation with you. Go ahead.
What percentage of our laws you think is not being enforced? Has to be about 90%, right?
Well, I'll tell you this. If we go through one by one, I can do a show like that and name numbers of them that are not being enforced. And right, you're right. It's a good show. We can do that.
It has to be about 90% of our laws that is not being enforced. And the 10% that is probably being enforced is murder, robbery. Now, again, I applaud them for that. But the public is having a field day with the other 90%.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And that is what is causing all of the misery in the country. You know, I caught a fella dumping, right? The police was 10 feet away from him talking to each other. They, you know, see the fella trying to garbage on the ground on the beach over there. The police was back and saying, okay. And then he put off and gone. I mean, see, it is...
Yeah, but Cora, if he was a police in uniform, you could get his number. If he was a police without uniform in a vehicle, police vehicle, you could write down the plate number. Huh?
The thing about it is this. The way we prioritize what we do in this country is wrong. Okay? We make all kind of laws, and we probably know when last a fellow or somebody was booked for talking on the phone, dark, 10...
No, I just been to court in reference to a traffic matter 2 weeks ago, and police had to pay $500 to the window for speaking on the phone. A police booked her, and she had to come. I was there. She paid $500 to the window in Magistrate Court on Nassau Street. $500. I feel that, but I didn't feel sorry for her, but I feel the $500.
But let me tell you something. I feel the $500. I think if we... One time Minister said, I don't understand it, but he said something. He said, spread the small stuff and watch the big stuff dwindle. This is true.
Yeah, but thank you, Call. But Call me all the time. You call you late. Call me earlier, man. You know you make great contribution in dialogue and make good sense. Please, man. Yes, sir. Listen, I gotta end the show. Be flat all the time, but listen to me. call him make many sense. But he called it too late. Some things need to happen in this country, like how you say, but I need to bring you back. Maybe let's offer about 25 solutions to crime. But see, what hurts me is, right? How is it that we as babies in this country, we tired of the murders, we tired of the crime, we tired of the robbery, we tired of all these things, but we fail to force politicians to carry the capital punishment, to carry the corporate punishment. How is it that a grown man could rape a 5-year-old child and get 5 years? And the politicians, excuse me before I go.
Let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something. You know, simply this. When people ask the question the way you ask the question, I say Bahamians have become comfortable in their discomfort.
Yeah, say it again.
Bahamian has become comfortable
In
in their discomfort.
Yeah, that's a good way to say that. We fly on the tap. Yeah, I am that quote. That's a great quote. But we must say that how is it we sit by idly for years?
Because we
and
become
allow
comfortable.
politicians to use, I don't support capital punishment. That's not my business. If you don't support it, bring it to the baby people. It's only in legislation. It's only in the penal code. Put it in the Constitution. Hold a referendum. Ask the baby people. As a majority, do you want persons who are convicted for murder hanged? Do you want persons who are convicted for raping a child, or raping an old woman, raping a man raping a boy? Listen, do you want corporal and capital punishment? If you ain't against it, you against it, that's no problem. You could go vote no. Y'all want vote no. But the Bahamian people need an opportunity to expect. They know. Listen, every politician who gonna know something, know that if they bring a referendum and reference the capital punishment, corporal punishment, ain't gonna pass. They will bring you a bill to trick you. Yeah, man, get one bathroom. Okay, nonsense. I got to quote the great late Cylinder Lawson Billion. If Bahamians aren't prepared to stand up and fight and defend their own Bahamas, then they don't deserve to have it. Good night, Bahamas.